Hey Young Turks, I'm Nomi Konst. We are here in the UK, in Brighton, for the Labour conference is taking place here this weekend. There's also the Momentum conference. Now, you may have heard of a man named Jeremy Corbyn, who we call the Bernie of the UK. I'm not sure if you guys call him the Bernie of UK, but
we call Bernie the Jeremy Corbyn of America.
That makes more sense. That makes a lot more sense. But we have Paul Mason here, who is he's one of the great minds behind Corbynism. He is a writer for The Guardian. He's a columnist there, and he is the author of Post-Capitalism. And he's going to give us a little bit of a rundown of like what's happening overseas here, because we're seeing patterns all over the world, and that's one of the reasons why we're here in the UK to cover labor. So thank you very much for being our explainer.
Thank you.
Explainer in chief.
Fire away.
So tell us why Corbyn really picked up, this energy, this momentum now versus 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
Well, look, we can all see that there's something deeply wrong with the economic model that we're living under. The same as in the United States, it's creating huge disparities of wealth, huge poverty, and the banks were saved in 2008, same as in America, not here. We had a Labour Party, it's our left-wing party, it just completely failed to reflect the levels of anger, and so at the first opportunity, the party membership picked the most left-wing person they could think of, which is Corbyn. He's been sitting there in Parliament for 30 years, very much like Senator Sanders, banging away on certain issues, and they said, okay, we want this guy to lead. This turned into a revolution, because unlike Sanders, he won the primary, in the sense he won the leadership of the party. 2 years in, we are trying to turn this party around, which is very used to making compromises with the status quo, big business, big banks. We're trying to turn it around and make it into a big, radical social movement.
So I'm going to ask you a question that folks on our left, our far left, progressive side, ask those who are trying to change the party within. Why not just start another party? Why not say, you know what, we're done with these people, let's go build our own movement? Why is momentum within the party itself?
Well, first of all, the British Labour Party was set up as a party of the trade unions. So every trade unionist theoretically is paying into this party, all the ones that are affiliated. We've never thought that we had enough say in what the party itself did. In this sense, the American Democratic Party is much more of a kind of, kind of Waldorf and Statler of the kind of old ruling class. We always had Labour, as Labour has always been a party that the ruling class feared, had to tame, had to take control over in the Tony Blair era. So it's easier in that sense to see Labour as the historic vehicle for British working people to make change. Now Momentum, everybody else had a faction. The right-wing neoliberals had a group funded by millionaires, the sort of old-fashioned pro-capitalist right-wing, the Cold Warriors, the neocons. They had a group. We didn't have a group, so we set one up. There's 20,000 or maybe 23,000, I think, members now, and rising. The party itself has almost doubled in size to 500,000 people, and what we need to do, we need to activate them, because they're used to being kind of cannon fodder, kind of thrown into a campaign every 5 years to go and campaign. We want them to campaign every 5 minutes. We want them to become people who in their own communities are saying, no, you can't get away with this. Stop this, closure of a factory. Stop this cutting of a public service. And we need to activate them. Very much like in the United States, there are local level activist groups, some of whom have nothing to do with politics, some do. We want now to spread Momentum's influence so that it brings into the Labour Party that active part of British society. And what are we doing there? We're making democracy real. Because as in your system, you have a primary system in order to feed into the democratic institution of the United States, Congress. We have a party system that's been completely undemocratic for years, and if we can democratise that, we create a deeper and more deeply rooted British democracy. So
when you're taking over these local democracies, getting people elected from the base up, what are some of the issues that you're highlighting? We're talking about Medicare for All. I see that you have an assault on the NHS here.
Yeah.
What are you campaigning on right now?
Look, the issue here in Britain and for the rest of Europe is that even a relatively mild social democratic programme, that is welfare for all, healthcare for all, decent wages for all, seems revolutionary. And the reason we need to democratise the Labour Party is that in so many instances over the last 30 years during the neoliberal system, neoliberalism itself got its hands into our party. So if you're running a local council, so the local town city council, you have made so many compromises with cutting services, with paying people low wages, that it's almost become ingrained in you to do what the system wants.
Like Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, but all we are going to do is to get local councils, the party nationally, to come up with, it's not that radical a programme, it's just a programme that says, hey, enough free market, enough privatisation, enough repression, enough surveillance as well, and enough war, yeah? So no more. And we now want to run Britain according to the principles of social justice and peace and tolerance. And this sounds revolutionary to even some people in our party, but I think we're going to do it.
There's a rise of fascism across the world right now, and I think young people see socialism as an antithesis to fascism, which is tapping into this populist, but it's clearly not true populism.
Yeah.
How are you in the UK fighting the fascist pseudo-populism that's being played out?
Look, we had, because the campaign for Britain to leave the European Union was led in some part by people who in America would be identified as alt-right or alt-light, the Fox News kind of people, the InfoWars kind of people. They got what they wanted. We're going to leave the European Union. But actually, once they got it, they evaporated. Because in this country, obviously, like the United States, we fought a war against a fascist power in 1945. We also have a Labour Party, which we're here at the conference, that is very deeply rooted in communities. And so, of course, you're going to get a fascist. And online, you get these alt-right types here in the United Kingdom. But we're swamping them by mobilising people, by linking up with minorities and women, because of course the alt-right now, the anti-Semitism of now is misogyny. In the 1930s, the signature of fascism was anti-Semitism. There is anti-Semitism here also, but the thing that pulls them all together is their hatred of liberated women. And we've got a lot of liberated women here, even in Brighton. You just walk the streets. We can mobilise people to defend their right to walk around dressed in what they want, to defend their right to have the kind of sex life, the kind of access to abortion and contraception that they want. We're going to any right-wing group that tries to defeat, as it were, modern society on these issues in Britain is going to lose. In America, I'm not so sure, because you have created a big demographic of people who believe all kinds of, to be honest, medieval theology. And it's going to be harder to defeat them in America. I think, unfortunately, I've reported many times from America, including the Midwest and the South, I think you may have to, the culture war they're fighting against you, you have to fight back. There's nothing else you can do. And your network, your program, the political movements that you interface with will be part of that. I think for now here in Britain, we have an easier task. In continental Europe, it's harder. Continental Europe, if you freeze dirty stuff, and then the ice melts, the dirty stuff comes back. Let's not use the profanity, and that's what's happening in Europe.
So what do we expect for the next couple of days?
Look, the Labour Party conference was for 30 years a rubber stamp mechanism for neoliberal policies. That's unfortunate. Many good people were trapped within that party, could do nothing about it. For the past 2 years, we've been fighting to gain control of the apparatus of Labour, its HQ, its parliamentary group, its equivalent to the Congressional Caucus. We didn't have control, and we don't have all control now. But what will happen at this conference, I hope, is that the membership who've been radicalised and have joined in tens of thousands to support Corbyn and the move to the left will at least control the conference. And by controlling the conference, they will create. I think conferences are watched, as are the conventions in America. They are watched for the mood music they set by the whole of society. And I think you'll find the mood music here is it's not triumphalist because we didn't win the 2017 election, but it is confident and it has momentum, and with a small m, it has it's a stone rolling down a hill, which is good. And I hope that yourselves in America, the Bernie supporters, and also the movements that fed into it, like BLM, can draw some joint momentum with us from this. If they see us confident and expressing the confident ability to change society, alongside our colleagues in Europe, Podemos, the Portuguese left government, I hope that the Bernie movement, which is not really the Bernie movement, it's a movement of progressive, liberated people in America, can look at us and say, we could do this. We could do this to the Democratic Party, not in 3-4 years' time. Let's do it next year. That's what I hope.
I hope so too.
Great.
I really hope so. Paul Mason, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and thanks for
enjoy the conference.
We
enjoy
will.
Brighton,
Yes.
gay capital of Southern England.
Gay capital of
It
Southern
is the
England.
gay capital of Southern England.
The best place to be.
Yeah.
Great food also.
Or as we English people call it, Dr. Brighton.
Dr. Brighton.
It's a lovely place to get better in.
I love that.